Jenna was a workaholic.
Your printed schedule. I also emailed it, and I confirmed every meeting.
I never thought I'd meet anyone who clocked more hours than me, but you and Mia certainly have me beat.
With her life planned out.
I didn't know that you had any interest in designing.
It's my passion.
But when an unexpected kiss...
So why'd this guy kiss you?
There's mistletoe in the elevator.
Really? That's all it takes, a little mistletoe. You're like...
leads to a surprise encounter.
Your brother.
He's in town and he wants to be a part of Trend.
Give him some work. If he has to roll up his sleeves and work for something, I'm sure he'll get bored of it.
All right, you're gonna go and you're gonna get him and you're gonna bring him back here.
So you found me, huh?
I'm Mia's assistant.
Jenna will discover
Last night, I perused back issues of Trend and checked out some of the archives on the website.
It's very conscientious of you.
Not really, I was just looking for photos of you.
He's not trustworthy. He always has to have a new girl, a shiny new toy.
Maybe he's worth taking a chance on.
that sometimes life
Did you show your designs to Mia?
You're really good at what you do here, and I think that you should really focus on what you're good at.
has plans of its own.
How are Jenna's designs coming?
Wait until you see the reality.
Okay, this is what I want to do.
Thank you.
I had nothing to do with it. It was actually all Cooper.
What?
Marvista Entertainment presents Elizabeth Harnois, Adam Mayfield, Lola Glaudini, Jonathan Bennett, and Elizabeth Rome.
Welcome back to the penultimate stocking stuffer of the season. We are at number 12. 12 days of Christmas, but 13 days of stocking stuffers this year. We made it to the end, kind of, almost, did we? We're not done yet. And obviously, the season is incomplete without me sitting here and talking about a very special movie with the specialist of all ladies. Of course, it is the one and only Christine Makepeace. Hi, Christine.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, well, I just figured your chair was, let me just clean it off for you. A lot of people have been sitting there. I don't know what they've done there, but most of them are pretty clean. So, there's some cat hair. I should wipe that off because I know you're allergic.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, welcome back.
Good to be back, I think.
Indeed. I don't think the last episode you were on was the first of the movie, but it's a very exciting time for us because this year, in past years, some of you know how this works. Basically, the way I do this is I start compiling the list of movies that I think I want to cover. Like, sometimes it's a matter of, there's like a big high-profile one, or this actor is doing this, and I try to spread it around. I want to do a little Lifetime, a little Hallmark, a little Netflix. But for like the last 3 years, I've said, we, at some point, the next Christine episode has to be A Christmas Kiss Part 2. There's no way she's getting out of it. I'm not even going to give her a choice. I'm going to tell her, hey, Christine, this is the episode you're doing.
That's what you did.
Yes. Legally, there's a contract somewhere, I'm sure, that says you have to do this. We covered the first Christmas Kiss, which is very confusing because it was called A Christmas Kiss when we watched it. Mm-hmm. But now, there's some Berenstain Bearsing going on because you go and look it up and you can't find it because it is now titled A Kiss for Christmas, which is very confusing because this is A Christmas Kiss 2. What is it A Christmas Kiss 2 of, Christine?
Well, I'm going to add some confusion to the pot of confusion. I saw this listed as another Christmas Kiss.
You watched the right movie, right?
I did, because the title card literally says Christmas Kiss 2, but it was labeled Another Christmas Kiss.
Christmas Kiss, which isn't a terrible sequel title.
No, and I had an in-depth conversation about this, but because I like it. I think Another Christmas Kiss is, cute. But in the landscape where there are a million new Christmas movies, movies popping up on things with people you've never heard of in it, I think that Another Christmas Kiss could easily just be another movie. And I really do think you need to hit home that it's a sequel by putting the number in.
I agree. I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot, about our annoyance with franchises today that do that. have you seen the Scream 6 poster that is like saying it's Scream 6? How can it be Scream 6 if there technically was no Scream 5 because you decided not to call it Scream 5? It bothers me a lot when movies try to hide the fact that they're sequels, and I understand it a little bit from a marketing point of view. But in this case, you are absolutely right. There are so many movies, Hallmark movies, that have the same exact title with the words in different places, that 100% this should, because this is a sequel. There is.
Oh boy.
Oh my God. Not only do we have a returning character, but we have a returning set and a very important returning magical elevator of sorts. So much going on.
I have a whole theory about this elevator, but we'll get into it.
Okay. So this is, just to give the basics of it, it is directed by Kevin Connor, who did not do The Last Christmas Kiss, but he has done like a whole bunch of these movies. Written by Joni Kane, who did do The Other Christmas Kiss. I got very happy because the first thing I saw when I pressed play was the Marvista logo. I know that sound now. That sound is one of those like Pavlovian responses to me where I perk up and say, "Ooh, it's going to be terrible and cheap." And one more thing was that I see TVPG, which I'm like, "Woo!" Because most of these are TVG. And, you know, they can be a little more risque, right? They can, I won't say there was tongue in this, but there was some deep kissing.
Ooh, oh yeah. This is a very innocent, like comically innocent movie
About sexual assault.
Ooh, yeah! But yeah, the titular Christmas kiss is there's some. It's a lot. It's a lot. It goes on for a long time too.
And like, you know, you could say like, oh, you know, we're gonna talk about this in a way that might sound very like woke and such. No, this was 2014. Like a lot of the politics in the world were not cool in 2014 either for doing certain things like this. So just gonna lay that down, that groundwork. I would like, Christine, could you kind of walk us through and tell us the plot of A Christmas Kiss 2?
So there's this young lady, this young woman who works at a fashion magazine. She is like the editor's assistant, I guess, which is like a pretty big deal job. And she seems super good at it, but she like also wants to design clothes. This is my favorite part of this.
I have so many favorite parts.
She also wants to design clothes, and like her roommate, her neighbor that she's friends with, who is very straight.
Obviously. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Is like, you need to show your boss these designs. And then
because I have a good eye as a straight man that I can tell they're very good. And
like the movie makes a really big deal out of this and talks about it a lot. But to me, it's kind of ancillary to the actual plot, which is
especially when you see the actual designs.
There is oh my gosh, there's a magic elevator that if you get in this elevator, I don't know, under certain circumstances, whoever you're in that elevator with, there's some like hex that forces you into a relationship with them, even if you don't want to be in one. And this young woman falls into this spell with this awful, terrible sexual harasser of like a rich, entitled white guy who's honestly not even that good looking. And as I've been known to say, hilarity ensues.
Well, because the man that, because like we should say in the first movie, same story, a put upon assistant gets in an elevator with a much richer man.
Yes.
And the elevator breaks. Like, they are stranded in the elevator, and that's when they kiss. In this one, she is in the elevator, and she's an assistant, but she had to model because the model left for the day, so she's like...
That's something that happens.
Yeah, she's in, like, full Christmas drag, and she's in the elevator. He walks in, and, like... Did I misunderstand it? I took it that he basically pressed the jam the elevator button in order to assault this woman.
That's a good question. I don't know if I have a nuanced memory of exactly how the elevator came to stop. But, I mean, I have to take your word for it. In the first one, there was like it stopped.
Yeah.
And the elevator stopped, and it was like, oh, now us two strangers are stuck in here. That to me, I remember it that way. This one truly is just like, we've been in this elevator for a moment.
Like a half a second. I guess we kiss now.
Let's play tonsil hockey.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, good for you, I guess, ma'am. If
Right,
this is
right.
how you want to get down in the
But
elevator.
I don't think she did.
She seemed, I mean, that first kiss, so there was like a little like little cutesy kiss, and then they like did that thing where they pulled apart and looked at each other all intensely,
Well,
and then they just like,
once the
"Bleh."
kiss happened, once it started, she was totally into it. But I
Okay.
don't think she wanted to be kissed to start with.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, she looked mildly appalled.
Yeah, and just
that-
imagine this. Everybody out there, man, woman, everything. Imagine walking into an elevator and a stranger walks in with you, which, as we all know, is freaky, right? We've all had that experience, and like I know I have as a woman walking into an elevator. Oh, a man walks in, there's nobody else around, like, okay, this is fine, or this guy could murder me. Like, these things have always go into our heads. And imagine walking in, and in this case, the elevator doors close. I have to replay the tape. I thought he hit the jam button, but even
he
if
might
he did,
have.
yeah, the elevator jams. This man looms over, turns to you, and goes in for a kiss. Now, granted, it turns into a great kiss. Turns out well for her in the end. Spoiler alert. But in the moment, holy fuck, that is horrifying.
Yeah, and she does, but like I think yes, all of that. For me, the insinuation that like it really reinforces that terrible idea that like women don't know what they want, or you have to really go after someone to convince them that they want to kiss you.
Because he
Like,
wears her down in this movie.
It's it's the thrust of the film.
Yeah.
We didn't even say he is the editor's brother, the main lady that what is this girl's name? Jenna. The woman that Jenna works for. This is her boss's very rich brother.
Like her ne'er-do-well, like collects the paycheck, but has nothing to do with it's the family business, which she runs, and he just collects the checks and dates models.
Yeah. So we are told repeatedly that he is a cad. He's a Lothario. He's terrible. He just uses women and spits them out. And like he reinforces that. Yeah. And all while actively pursuing, he has a girl, a person he's with, but he's actively pursuing Jenna, which is really weird to me.
And Jenna's like, no, like it's a work thing. Like, this is a weird violation. I don't want to date my boss's brother, who is also co-owner of this company. My boss told me not to date you, so it's weird that first of all, it's weird that my boss had to do that. It's also weird that I have to make a decision about that one way or another. And I don't like you. And then, but like half a scene later, she's like, you're not that bad, I guess.
Yeah, because there could be something here where they meet and like, she's kind of into him because he's handsome and is nice to her, but then she finds out he's kind of a playboy and not really trustworthy, and she says, I don't want to be with you because of these reasons. And then without the constant wearing her down, he goes and does some introspection and comes back as like a better person, which this movie tries to do, but it is him constantly forcing himself on her while he's maybe kind of trying to be a better person.
I think my favorite part of the courting ritual is he calls her and he's like, hey, tomorrow morning, I need you to come to the office. It's a work thing. I need you to be there. She's like, well, it's Sunday, but okay. She shows up to the office and he has done that like creepy thing that like men in the 90s would do for women, and they thought it was cool, where he has laid rose petals all throughout like her path. And she gets there, she's like, oh, okay, in my place of work you have laid a red carpet of sex petals that are presumably like seductive. She follows it, like he's in her office with poinsettias, which he pronounces as like poinsettias.
I'm so glad that you said that.
Oh yes, I wrote that one down.
Because I did. I mean, as if you're a listener of the show, not surprising that I was high when I watched this. And
Good, I'm glad you were.
I kept yelling, I'm gonna forget to talk about this with Emily. I'm gonna
Poinsettias!
But I did want to ask you. You don't say it that way, right?
I have never heard it said that way.
Okay. I have, and my mom says it that way, but she knows it's wrong, and she kind of does it as like a joke. Like she calls Tubi Tubby, but she knows Tubi's not Tubby.
Now I'm going to call it that too.
She'll say poinsettia, and it'll be funny.
No, is it a New England thing? Because they are technically like in Boston, right?
Oh shit, maybe.
Oh no.
But I never thought that was the right way to say it.
No, and the way he says it too is very like this guy in general is very like we said this on another episode, but in this case it's complete. It's the transition's complete. He's Patrick Bateman. Like he is trying. Like you could see him probably looking in a mirror trying to figure out how to smile in a way that like fools women into trusting him. And like even poinsettia, the way he says it is very measured, as if he's like looked up. That's the way to say it to impress a lady. But like what the fuck? Like what are these flowers there for? Nothing. She's like, oh, okay.
Yes. There's a version of this, and I wrote it in my head, that is decent, and takes these tropes and these ideas and does them in a way that aren't like egregiously rapey. But this movie had no intent, like
no, and it had no awareness about it.
It was like, yeah, creepy, that's cool, let's do it.
Even the fact that it's yet, it's this, I get it, look, you're not like, most sequels are repeating the first film, you and I are horror fans, we are used to that, but that even this one, the same exact thing of like, put upon assistant who gets wooed by this incredibly wealthy, slightly older man. Again, like it's something I hate about Love Actually is that like there are 3 stories in there about a rich, powerful man and a much younger, like beautiful but poor woman. And it is such a creepy Cinderella narrative that like it's 2022, aren't we past that now? And I mean, hey, 2014, I guess we weren't, but maybe we are today.
Yeah. So do people like... I looked at the Letterboxd reviews of this when I logged it, and almost all like the top ones that showed up were, this is like, what's going on with the sexual harassment in this movie? This movie's gross. But like, does the average person who just like clicks over to Tubby and is like, oh, a Christmas movie, do they get that? Do they feel that? Or is this like wholesome?
No, I think this is like one of those cases where you and I talk a lot about the different bubbles we're in, right? And everybody's in a bubble we're all in a bunch of different bubbles. And like most of the people I talk to on Facebook or I talk to on Twitter, like would watch this movie and have similar thoughts that we do.
Yeah.
When go back to when you and I were doing the Masters of Horror episodes and how we'd always look up the IMDb rating. And how, like, it was almost a complete inverse every time of how you and I felt about the movie to the IMDb review. Because the general, like, consensus would be like, oh, like, this pro-life is a 10. No, it's like a 3. Whereas the ones that, what was the Spirit Box for us was like, that's a 10. No, it's a 3 on IMDb. A Christmas Kiss 2 on IMDb is a 5.9 out of 10, which is above average. And when you look, let me look at the actual like breakdown. You have 11.4% are 10-star are 10s. 22% are 6s. So the majority of people, and like if you look at the picture graph of this, it is big and then small, meaning more people were rating it highly than rating it low. Because overall, for this audience, I think, and again, like, one thing that would be interesting is how many of these reviews were probably recorded in 2014, 15, 16 versus the new ones. But I can tell you, having watched a couple of new movies this year and having like occasionally looked on social media at like the places where people are actually supposed to be looking, like on Instagram. So I put now that we have an Instagram, everybody, feminine_critique_pod, go follow us. Because the nature of like what's coming out to me there is all like Hallmark content, which is hilarious. And then when you look at the comments, and so Jonathan Bennett, who we'll get to, who is in real life is gay, recently was in Hallmark's first official total gay movie, like where the romance was a gay relationship. And like looking at the comments underneath it is shocking how many were still, well, I've just unsubscribed from my Hallmark and I'm going to Great American Family. Like that you still have that much sentiment there. It was similar when I did a movie last year that started, it was another sequel. It was the 9 Kittens of Christmas, which was a sequel to hopefully
8 Kittens of Christmas.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was like the oh man, it was the Brandon Routh one. You'd like it. But the movie starts with the characters that got together at the end of the first movie are not together. They have broken up, and of course in the movie they get back together. But the whole plot was like, oh no, they didn't work out, and now they will, of course. But the amount of reviews when I started looking, it was shocking how many people were immediately angry and gave it a negative review because they were so offended by the very idea that Hallmark would present a movie that basically said that other movie didn't end happy. That happy ending wasn't real, it didn't last. Like, that shattered people's worlds, and they didn't trust Hallmark after that. So, like, it's a thing. Like, and again, like, we watch them for a million different reasons. I get very different enjoyment out of these than probably the average viewer of them. Mm-hmm. But there is still that very strong conservative, whether they realize it or not, the people that at the end of the day want a woman with beautiful hair to fall in love with a man who is a little bit older and a lot taller and very handsome and rich.
I mean, don't we all?
That's true. I mean, hey, look at my relationship, you know? Totally.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
So why don't we dive into the tropes, into the list? Number one is our female lead in need of a lesson. So we talked about Jenna. I didn't recognize this actress, but I actually
yes,
she's
from Adventures in Wonderland, 100 episodes. I was obsessed with it. She was Alice. I was obsessed with that show when I was little.
Oh, neat. I don't know that. Canadian or something, or
was it? Maybe it was on the Disney
Detroit.
Channel.
She's
I don't
Detroit.
know. But she's also in, I think, like CSI. Like, you would probably, if you like watched regular TV, yeah, you might recognize her because she's still like actively working. She had that face where I was like, I know who this is, but why? And I'm scrolling, and then I see this kids show from the 90s, and I'm like, there you are. And I knew her from that, and I like her. Well, sometimes she did not look good in this movie. Like, the lighting was
not kind to
awful.
her. Yeah, because she's very cute, and she has like she has an, like, I mean this in a very positive way, but I worry it comes out negative. She has an interesting face. Like, she has big eyes, kind of just like a broader face. Like, there's something about her that you look at her and you do remember her. She's very pretty, and she's like fresh looking, I guess. And I thought for what she had to do in this movie, I give her all the credit, because I think she did a good job, even though her poor character I wanted to shake hard.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you think Jenna needed to learn a lesson? How do you feel about Jenna's arc?
I don't know if Jenna necessarily. I'm looking at this list, and this seems to be in number one.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes, yeah, that's true. Sometimes she can teach somebody a lesson.
Well, I think she taught somebody a lesson.
Yeah, right? I don't know. Like, it all worked out for him, so I feel like he can just keep doing what he's doing.
But, I mean, I guess maybe she didn't, if I'm to believe the movie, so this isn't me, this is what I believe the narrative is saying, she didn't necessarily teach him, she inspired him.
Yeah, that's fair.
To become, like, a better person.
Yeah.
And I will say that as he became a better person, he still kind of seemed like he had a shitty attitude.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And
yeah.
Also, his girlfriend, or his person he was with, Brittany, I believe her name was.
Yes.
My favorite character.
Well, we'll get to her. She's our evil woman. She's number 7.
Okay,
don't worry.
Good.
We won't skip Brittany. I thought the movie was trying to do a little bit of a saying that she needed to learn how to trust. But the truth is, like, she didn't, because she had reasons not to trust the men in her life. They were all terrible. I mean, Sebastian was fine, right? Her neighbor, BFF was great. But, like, her dad's a dickhead, and this guy is awful, so she should have been very wary of him.
Yeah. So if she was learning a lesson, then I wasn't interested in her learning.
Yes, same. So let's see, number 2 is our setting. Big Bad City, charming small town, magical winter wonderland. Tell us where this movie is set, Christine.
It claims to be set in Boston, although we only really see the inside of a cheap office building.
A cheap office building. And apparently, I mean, my understanding is that, like, Boston, I think it's a pretty big city, right? Like, there's a lot going on.
It's reasonably big. It's a big, small...
So, like, if you decided... on December 22nd, that you wanted to have a big
No,
fancy
absolutely
Christmas
not.
Eve
No.
party.
At like a museum, I don't know, or somewhere that
Yeah,
they were like, yeah, we got no catering. No, that's already booked up. What are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah. And also, like, who the fuck wants to go to a work Christmas party on Christmas Eve? It's bad enough doing that on like a Friday night in December, but like Christmas Eve, I'm sorry, I have presents to wrap, I have food to cook. I have to go put on a dress and be with my boss? Like, no, that's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, in quotations, Boston, right? In quotations with guttural noise from Christine's throat, Boston. So let's see, number 3 is our bland love interest. Poor little rich boy or widowed dad. Obviously, in this case, we get a poor little rich boy.
Yes.
Yeah. I will make one thing, like, so this actor is Adam Mayfield. I don't recognize him. He's got a lot of credits, nothing that I've seen, which is weird because this list goes on very long. I appreciate that he's doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, other than like, oh boy, the plot, there was stuff to like in this movie. It would kind of it would keep surprising me how cheap it was. Yeah. Like they would do something and
surprise you, thrill me.
This is so cheap, but like everyone was working really hard, and that kept me in it. I was compelled.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even talk about Elizabeth Rome yet, but I mean,
we'll
I think we will.
But
number
like,
9. Number 9. Everybody showing up and like, yeah, and it tricked me well enough that I was never like, what the fuck am I doing here?
And I wonder, like, this, because this is Marvista, so this is a film that would have been made and then sold to Hallmark or Lifetime or wherever. It wouldn't have been an official production of those companies, which means the budget's much smaller, as you can see very prominently. Yep. And there is something to, like, I don't know, I guess it's when you read about anything that's filmed far away from LA or New York, where actors really are stuck somewhere, and they tend to, I think, like, probably make the best of it and, like, probably bond more. So, like, this actor and this actress, like, they probably, like, spent more time together than they would have had this been a bigger budgeted production. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I don't know, like, this character is absolutely terrible, but I do want to say that, like, the actor is working. He is finding something there. He is terrifying. I do not want anybody I know to date him or be seduced by him in an elevator, but I was intrigued to watch him work.
Yeah. I think there's a version of this character that really could have been fun and like enjoyable.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And I don't think this character was written that way. Yeah. But I do appreciate, again, I was not bored watching this.
Same. Now, on the notation of cheapness, let's talk about number 4 and the montage. I think we only really had one, but boy, is it a good one.
So the decorating the trees montage.
Yeah,
right?
well, first they're shopping for the tree.
Oh my god, how many selfies? Why did they keep taking boring, weirdly framed pictures? So
many selfies. And we should say it is, it's not a date, it's like a date plus one. Or is it a 3-way date? Oh my god, you got a threesome, right? They fucked. All 3 of them, right? It's so it's Sebastian, so it's Jenna. Jenna is supposed to go get a tree with Sebastian, her neighbor. But then Patrick Bateman is like, hey, why don't we go out? She's like, oh, I actually have plans. Why don't you come? Okay, yeah, the 3 of us. They apparently spend 12 hours together.
12 hours?
That is a long fucking time. Like, I get, like, okay, maybe it took you, like, 2 hours to get the tree. Like, maybe you went to a couple places. Maybe you stopped to buy decorations. Now maybe we're at 3 hours. You came home. You ordered dinner. Okay, no, I'm looking at my watch, and at some point, the 3 of you are doing it in a bed, and Patrick Bateman is, like, staring at the mirror and wondering if this woman has a chainsaw. It all went there in my head to me.
Yeah, because 12 hours, everyone, if you don't know, if they set out at 2 p.m. to buy a tree, they were together until 2 a.m. That's a long time. Mm-hmm. What are they doing?
That's where the TVPG came in, I'm telling you.
I guess so.
Now, number 5 is our dead parents, sometimes a dead wife. This one pulled a nice surprise on me because I didn't think we were getting them, because she's talking in the beginning about her family situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That her mom is like in the Caribbean with her book club friends, which she
Yes.
says very dismissively. I'm in book club. I don't care for the book club. What's the word? There's been a lot of book club hatred in these movies. I don't appreciate that. And her dad has remarried a step monster, I guess.
Has a new family. Lots of new family talk.
And like, it happened when she was a teenager, and I guess she's probably what, like 25 in this movie. There's some weird shit going on there. But so I'm like, damn it, we don't have, like, I guess like the dad's kind of dead to her, but not really dead. But then we find out who is the dead parent here.
The dead parent, it's their parent, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I was surprised that it went that way, because it seemed unnecessary.
Because earlier they have a conversation about their parents, and it's very clear that their parents were both... He kind of describes it as like a marriage of convenience, which is weird for the 90s. Like, presumably when their parents got together, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that, yeah, they were both working, business. Maybe they had affairs, but it didn't matter. And it's just very like, okay, that's going to be that. But then later, him and the sister are like, I wonder if Dad would be proud of us. I got very happy by that.
The sister too is very strange.
There's a dynamic there. We'll get to number 7 shortly. Let's get to 6, because there's a lot to unpack here. Sassy sidekick.
So I'm gonna say a couple things, and this might be controversial. So Jonathan Bennett, although he is a straight man in this movie, is a sassy sidekick in my opinion.
Completely.
He's got a lot of quips and shit. But there's also that photographer.
Oh, that photographer.
I can't remember his name.
Oh, it was not nearly as foreign as it should have been, right? Helmet. So I guess he was German? At first I thought he was supposed to be Italian. Where is this actor actually from?
He was pretty sidekicky.
Oh, he was lovely. He is from Brooklyn. So, yeah, that makes sense. It tracks.
Cool.
I think he was doing an Italian accent. His character's name was Helmet. I love that there are so many men in this movie that I really assumed were gay within the movie, and I guess weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we get the very supportive photographer who can also design clothing or help coordinate design clothing. That was confusing.
So he was a photographer, right?
Yeah, that's what I got.
And then lead dude is like, oh yeah, here are some designs. Go make them or have them made.
Have them made. I mean, you and I have both seen Adventures in Babysitting. We know that you can, not Adventures in Babysitting. My God, slap my face. Don't tell Mom the babysitter is dead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say what
you were
point?
You were like, what? Has Emily been body snatched? So we both remember like the big finale where Sue Ellen has like a day to redo the fashion show, and she pulls in like, you know, the guy there that makes them, and like, you know, the seamstress here. So it is possible probably to wrangle a few talented people, but again, like, it's also Christmas Eve. Like, don't people have shit to do? Aren't there projects?
So I guess I'm confused about this magazine too. Not to like belabor a pointless point, but so okay, so they're taking photographs in the middle of the night, which is like fine, whatever. But I guess in my mind, a lot of magazines don't do on-site photo shoots for use in the magazine, but that's fine. I have more to say about that later. But then either this photographer or people he knows ostensibly within the magazine can help him make clothes. What is this magazine? Why is it?
Christine, it's Trend, which they say so weird in the beginning. I had the subtitles on, but I was watching it like at the gym, so I couldn't always like hear or see, or so I was like, what word are they saying? I think it's Trend, but it doesn't sound like Trend. And then thankfully I see the poster, Trend. Why did they say it as if it was not an English word?
Yeah, like it meant something more than it did.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that. I don't like when businesses don't work right in movies.
Same.
It's just it gets stuck in my craw, and I was like, what is this magazine? Because it should just be like, ad sales and like it seems to be more like an advertising agency than a magazine.
I don't know.
I'm really sorry if I'm bringing this up too soon, but like this was essentially a Kay Jewelers commercial.
Oh, product placement! I got so excited.
Is product placement on here?
It is on here. It's in the bonus round.
Shit! I'm
it's
sorry.
Okay.
I didn't
We are
see
going
it.
to put a diamond pin with a big Kay Jeweler logo in it. We're going to put a pin, that glistening pin in there, and come back to that. But yes.
Oh my god, I forgot another thing. This movie is the gift that keeps on giving.
Isn't it? I'm telling you, I knew it. Like, sometimes I just have a good sense, and I knew this would be a good one. So let's go to number 7, because this is also a loaded thing. Our evil woman character. And I always, I'm telling you, there is a correlation. The more I enjoy the movie, then the bigger and more ridiculous the evil woman character is. Mm-hmm. However, the better the movie is, then usually there's no evil woman. Because these movies don't know how to write women. So typically it's like, oh, we just are gonna have this evil shrew of a terrible witch here as a way of collecting all of the negativity of the movie. But I love that because it's terrible, but it also usually makes for a terrible movie. So tell me, I feel like there's not just one. Who do you want to start with?
Well, so are you classifying Elizabeth Rom as this?
No, I would move her weirdly into number 9.
Okay, I think so too. Okay, yeah. You did say number 9 before. I just wanted to make sure. Mm-hmm. So her boss, but not fully, kind of like what you said, because there's Jenna is her name.
Jenna is the character. Yes.
So she like Jonathan Bennett's character is just like, you have to show her your drawings, and I'm on her side. Like, no, maybe not. Maybe I don't have to.
Yeah, but I'm on the side of like, okay, have you ever worked in a company? And you're, oh my God, everything about how she does this is terrible. Yep. Because you don't fucking tell your boss that this isn't what you want to do, for one thing. You wait for the right time. You absolutely do wait for the right time. And boy, does she not. So yes, I interrupted because I was just excited to point out how wrong this is. But yes, please continue.
It's completely wrong. But so the boss, I thought the boss was mostly fine. Like, I really did. She was mostly fine. But there's this point where she gives her portfolio. Jenna gives her the portfolio, and she opens a page and then closes it and essentially says, "Keep your day job."
Yes, well, which I loved but then very quickly she reveals the reason why she said that. She doesn't say this to Jenna. She says it to Cooper, well, no, she's a great assistant. I don't care what else she does. I want her to be my assistant. I can't give her ideas that she's better than that because then she'll leave. And that's a very look, come on, first of all, women, we got to pull each other up. But that if you have ever been in a position where you knew you should be growing in your role, but that you have a supervisor that knows how good you are in this role and cannot afford to lose you in that role, it's a huge problem for any workplace because that means that the structure is wrong. But I also totally get it from the aside because it's hard to train people.
Yeah, it was a weird reaction, especially because, she barely looked at it and she didn't just say, this isn't, she just essentially said, "You suck."
Right,
and
which was a deliberate choice on her part to put her in her place.
Which was mean.
Yes.
And then Jenna stomps out into, her office area, I guess, and, fully throws the portfolio in the trash. Then, dude goes over, takes it, and she does not notice. It is a tiny little plastic trash bin. And this is a portfolio that overhangs it by a lot. Jenna does not notice. Never thinks about it again. Throws it in the trash and is like, that's it. I'm never going to think about that very
I'll never design
book.
Another dress that could be sold at Macy's retail if I'm lucky on clearance. Yes.
Oh.
I know. Well, also the boss is introduced very much as the strict career woman, hates Christmas, is mad because there are roses and roses are red, which means Christmas. So there's definitely, they're trying to establish that early on.
Yes.
And then why don't we talk about, well, also the boss gets a post-credit sequence.
Oh my God, I didn't see that.
Well, it's not a post-credits. It's it says the end. And then there's one more scene, and then the credits roll.
What's the extra scene?
The extra scene, so it says the end, and then we see Mia, the boss, walking into the building with, an empty coffee cup, as this very handsome man bumps into her, knocks the lid off of her coffee cup, which earlier had also happened. And then they get into the elevator and the elevator breaks. So it's like, oh, now she gets a Christmas Kiss 3.
So again, hexed elevator. This is a horror movie. If you enter into this elevator with someone, I don't know, you will then be forced into a pair with them. So you have to be careful because, wait, we're on slapstick. I won't say my next thing yet.
Okay, you're right, because we have to talk about Brittany. Your girl, Brittany.
Oh, I love Brittany.
I love when they do that to a character, when they just make her as ridiculous as possible. Celesta Hodge is the actress. I like when she points out that she's not catty, she's sassy.
Yeah,
Good line.
She's very funny. I thought all of her delivery was really funny, and I thought the only time I really liked watching him was when they were together, because I thought their dynamic was really funny. And I genuinely enjoyed it. I thought it was like, oh, this is entertaining and weird. Yep. And then and she remained entertaining and weird. She does do some truly villainous shit.
Yes, she gets somebody fired. Yeah.
Let's talk about the fucking photos she staged with him. So this man falls asleep. Hold on. And she takes...
Well, first he opens the door, so it's not like he was
dead.
It's not like he had taken Valium and was knocked out.
What was that?
He's sitting on the couch tired. Somebody knocks on the door. He opens the door. She comes in. He's like, oh, I'm tired. And he sits on the couch and then falls into a Sleeping Beauty slumber where she has her way with him.
She is she says something about leaving, I think, and then she kneels right next to him, looming over him, and then rifles through his jacket to pull out a picture of Jenna, a not very good picture.
Which was
of
also
Jenna.
weird. Why is he holding? And it was a 5x7. It wasn't. It was
a strange shape.
What is the size of this? Why is it in your coat pocket? How much have you jerked off to it? Because it's very upsetting all around.
Zach made that he did a whole bit about that, and it was fantastic.
I love that Zach watched this with you.
Of course he did. So she's rifling through it, and I'm like, this is absurd. But then proceeds to stage photos where she gets into the crook of his arm and puts his arm around and moves his tie. And then I'm thinking well, does he have a drug problem? Did he just pass out? Because this is not how people sleep, even if you're a heavy sleeper.
Yep. Yeah. And in fairness to her, she's also a model, so she knows how to pose. So I always appreciate seeing that. Oh. So now number 8 is our slapstick. It sounded like you had something a minute ago.
I think
coffee cups, maybe the elevator.
I don't know. It might have been just me talking about the coffee cups, but I don't know if that counts.
Well, I mean, we'll get back to that. There's a little bit of the occasional bumping into somebody, but nothing over the top. But now number 9 is our sage old person.
Woo! Elizabeth Rom.
Oh man! It's exciting, first of all, when it's an actual sequel. And as soon as she shows up, and it's very early on, I was like, whoa! And now you remember her in the last movie.
Yes,
right?
I do.
How do you feel this is the same character? Do you feel what do you think this character has been doing the last year before this movie came out?
Falling in love.
Yeah, with the gay photographer.
Falling in love, and that's the only answer.
Yeah.
She's a different person now because she fell in love.
Yeah. And she doesn't care about her career the same way she used to, which is essentially a line in the movie, which is unfortunate. But yeah, good on her. She seemed happy. I hope her and her and her sassy photographer have many happy years amongst them.
Yeah, I guess the elevator got her.
It must have. It really must have. Wonder if it's it doesn't matter what your sexuality is, if you might say oh no, I'm straight, I'm only into heterosexual men, but you get into an elevator, that elevator with Elizabeth Rom, and then the elevator does its thing, and then you're oh no, I guess I'm into Elizabeth Rom. I wonder if it just is. Now we only see the heterosexual stories, but I don't know. I mean, it's a fashion house. Anything can happen. Everybody's attractive.
That's what I'm saying. Horror movie. It steals your agency and forces you. This is my official pitch. Anyone listening?
Yeah. Right, that's true. I like this. I doesn't have to be an elevator, although an elevator works because it is a very confined space. But Keep going on that. Keep going.
Yeah, that's my pitch. So have you ever seen the movie Devil? All right. Have you ever seen the movie Christmas
This is
Kiss?
Kiss Part 2.
Now imagine if they were combined.
What I would love is if you could do sort of like the way Italian horror movies would happen a lot in the 70s, 80s, was where you could mesh the plots together to where you could call it both A Christmas Kiss 3 and Devil 2. And just sell it both ways.
Devil.
A Christmas Devil 2 or 3. A Christmas Devil 5 because you're adding them together. You could go places. I'm totally. This has so much appeal. Just wild.
To you.
Yes, I will buy 17 copies of it, I promise. In all different formats. I have VHS and a Blu-ray and a DVD. So all three. Number 10, Santa Claus. Sadly, there is no Santa Claus.
No,
although, again,
I was okay with that.
I know, but we do have Christmas magic, so we'll take that. So now the bonus round. So all the fun little things that show up. Number 1 is the public domain holiday songs.
I am very bad with music in movies, period. I didn't really notice anything.
Well, you know why? Because weirdly, for a movie that was made for probably like $85, it's not that they didn't spend it on, they definitely didn't spend a dime on music, but there isn't nearly as much Christmas music as there usually is in these.
Mm-hmm.
There are carolers doing Jingle Bells in the elevator. I think at one point they played We Wish You a Merry Christmas towards the end, or Joy to the World, I think. But, even the tree montage, which is all about a Christmas tree, Deck the Halls or Oh Christmas Tree, play those, they're easy. You have them on file, just play them. Instead, it's this weird, it felt like if you ever had, in the early 90s, you can get a toy that was a piano, and you press a button and it just plays, but
yeah,
you thought oh, I'm playing the piano. No, you're pressing a button and it's playing. That's kind of what the music felt like, but it wasn't Christmas. It was weird. Very odd choice.
Yeah, maybe that's why I didn't notice them.
Yeah. Number 2, Secret Family Recipe. There really is no cooking of any kind or baking. Our small business in danger. No, we've talked about trend. It seems to be doing okay.
I think it's fine.
No. But let's talk about number 4, product placement.
If you go on Letterboxd, there is a 50-50 split. Sometimes they contain both. It's either, hey, wow, lots of sexual harassment in this movie, or, hey, wow, this is a Kay Jewelers commercial.
Every Christmas Kiss 2 begins with Kay Jewelers.
I will say that this is the best Kay Jewelers commercial I've ever seen.
Yes.
So it starts off, the photo shoot that Jenna has to magically step in for, which again is a thing that happens,
totally.
Is weird jewelry. And I was like, what is this magazine? Couldn't understand it. Then, towards the end, you get full-on long shots of a Kay Jewelers box. Long shots that are just a logo. And then, really, to me, they looked altered. Shots of, I'll get into it. An engagement ring. Wait, who got engaged? Hold on. An engagement ring that had extra shine to it. It had an Instagram filter on it to make it look shinier. I swear.
Also for a guy who's really rich, I don't know,
not that great.
Kind of an ugly engagement ring.
Also, why did they get engaged?
Oh God. They haven't even had sex, just the two of them yet. They don't know if they're going to still have that same chemistry without Jonathan Bennett there. I'm sorry.
And we didn't talk about this. The whole time, Jenna's pestering him about getting back together with a girlfriend that we haven't seen and don't know anything about. It's chill. But the movie wanted to make it clear that he was
straight. Yeah.
Straight, and B, not interested in her.
Right,
not a potential love interest for her. So that wasn't a ducky thing. We weren't oh, the friend really loves her, which I appreciate.
I do appreciate that actually, because I thought the two of them were really cute as friends together. Just in terms of chemistry, Elizabeth Harnois and Jonathan Bennett, they were good together. They had good timing. I believed their friendship. And yeah, most of these movies would do something weird there, and I appreciate that they didn't. Although again, I'm convinced all three of them had sex. So what do I know?
I mean, that's a decent theory.
Yeah.
I am curious though, because you seem to remember Christmas Kiss 1 better than I do. Did anybody get engaged in that? Or was that a Kay Jewelers ad?
So I don't remember Kay Jewelers. The way I remember it, I have to go back to my notes. I think that at the end of that movie, Oh my God, did he propose? What I remember most is that the movie ended with a really quick, like, newspaper article that I paused and took a picture of, and I have it, and I'll find it because I remember I put it up on Facebook last year, or 5 years ago, whenever we talked about it. And in that article, it said that they were engaged. So there is canon that they got engaged. I can't remember if he has a ring in the elevator or if he's just, like, there to tell her he loves her. I don't remember. But in this case, like, yeah, they have spent a total of, to our knowledge, they have spent no time, just the two of them together in, like, any kind of serious way.
No.
Like, anytime they were going to have dinner, someone else joined them. Like, at one point, we didn't mention this, where, like, Mia, the amount of Mia and Cooper having conversations about Jenna is very upsetting and weird, and like Mia saying like, no, you can't date her because of this. I'm looking out for her. And like, it just felt very creepy. These two people like deciding this woman's life, and this woman works there, like just so invasive and creepy that I didn't like it. But back to Kay Jewelers. So yeah, they're engaged, I guess. Sure. I did, because I'm watching, I'm wondering, I'm like, this movie was made so cheaply. Like, did Kay Jewelers actually pay for this, or did Kay Jewelers like did they actually get permission? Like, and my theory was, I did watch to see a special thanks, and Kay Jewelers is in the special thanks. My theory is that they're making this movie and they decide like, okay, we want to end with like a big proposal. You know what? Like, I don't know, like, I wonder, like, we don't have a ring. Like, I can't afford a ring. No, anybody on set have an engagement ring that we can do a close-up of? No shit. My theory, the director went to the nearest mall, walked into Kay Jewelers, specifically when, like, the teenagers were working there, like, when it wasn't the manager, when it was somebody that, like, he could, like, sweet talk into being like, okay, so I'm making a movie, and if you let me borrow a ring, I'm going to show the logo, and your boss is going to love it. Can I do that? That's my theory.
So, my theory is that they said, "Hey, Kay Jewelers, give us something, and we'll show it a lot," which is essentially your theory. So I don't know.
But also that Kay Jewelers was like, wait, we don't, like, do we give them the good stuff? No, God, no, we don't give them the good stuff.
I don't know that Kay Jewelers I don't know, maybe Kay Jewelers did give them money.
I don't know.
Maybe this movie was made on the back of Kay Jewelers.
Like, it's the end of year, or not end of year, because this was clearly filmed in July, but it's one of those things where, like, they were at, like, a new period where they had, like, oh, the marketing budget, we have surplus, what do we do? Let's try something new this year. I don't know, like, maybe, remember that guy that keeps calling us about a movie? Maybe let's take him up on that. Maybe it's that. Because, yeah, it is hard to really gauge the involvement of Kay. We're going to have to do an oral history interviewing Kay Jewelers and A Christmas Kiss 2 and how that all came together.
I am genuinely interested in because my gut instinct, my first instinct was like, oh, well, Kay Jewelers clearly put some money up for this. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, I wonder if they just contacted Kay Jewelers and they were like, yeah, here's a ring.
Yeah,
they just show the box a lot.
I'm like quickly Googling, and yeah, all I see is mostly people like doing the same thing where they're talking about the placement in the movie. Because I wonder, like, was it a tie-in or was it just like, hey, can I borrow a ring? Cool. Hey, my cousin works at Kay Jewelers. I bet he can get you a ring. I'm telling you.
I mean, that's even really weird and interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. Or it's like the assistant manager was like dating the director, or the assistant manager is like was the cousin that worked at Kay Jewelers and decided like, oh, I know how to impress my boss. I'm gonna lend this box to this production and it's gonna do so well and we're gonna get so much foot traffic, people saying, hey, can I get the ring that was in A Christmas Kiss 2? And my boss is finally gonna give me that promotion. And it didn't work out. Lots of theories. You know what is we don't have lots of in this movie? Number 5 is our cloying child. I don't think any children were allowed near this movie.
Yeah, it was child-free, right?
Completely. We were living in a children of men world where there were none. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's for the best.
For everybody involved, definitely.
It can be a lot.
Completely. Now, number 6, our character with a holiday-themed name. I don't believe we got any.
I don't think so, right?
No, I mean, we had Jenna, Mia, Cooper.
It was all pretty normal-ish.
Yeah, Sebastian. Nothing. But then number 7, finding the perfect tree.
Yes, that did happen.
Now, okay, I don't judge, like, whatever tree you want. If you want a tree, if you don't want a tree, whatever. We tried putting up we have a very nice, I love real trees, but they become very inconvenient. We have a really nice fake tree that looks great. We put it up this year for all of 12 hours because the kittens were definitely going to destroy it, so we took it down.
Yeah.
My point is, I don't judge anybody that has a fake tree, but do you go shopping at an outdoor tree market and then bring home a fake tree?
That has never happened.
It has in A Christmas Kiss too. Because I thought from the distance that I was watching this movie that those are not real trees. And then I paused and looked closer and said, no, those are definitely fake trees. But we just saw them shop for real trees. What a choice. What a choice. Maybe that's why it took them 12 hours.
Weird, this movie.
Yeah, they went to all these tree lots. We're like, I don't know. Let's just go to like Walmart.
Let's get a fake tree.
Let's get a fake one. And then they went to Walmart like a week before Christmas and were stuck online for like 7 hours. So maybe that's actually where all that missing time went.
That is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
12 hours, the vast majority of it, standing in line at Walmart.
Yes. Number 8 is our ridiculously elaborate holiday beverages, which I don't think we really got here. No, nobody's drinking anything fun, but it does lead into empty coffee cup acting.
So the movie essentially opens with Jenna
God.
carrying 2 cups.
Stacked on top of each other.
In one hand. The cups are clearly empty and taped together.
But you see it shaking. You actually see it Jurassic Park shaking as if a dinosaur is walking by.
Because she refuses to hold them each in a hand. Like she's not holding them each in a hand, and she's not like using her other hand to make it seem like she's balancing them on top of each other. It's just loosely moving around.
Yeah.
I wonder. I know all the various reasons why they do empty coffee cups. I wonder if for some reason I became an actor like tomorrow. If I was in a coffee cup scene, could I demand that it be filled with like water? I can't do it. Because I know what it's like to watch somebody move an empty cup around.
Yeah. It is mind-boggling. Like, and again, like, I guess it's similar to how people on reality shows, right? You're on a reality competition, and you come in, you're like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be that guy that, ends up saying the wrong thing and ends up, like, isolated. Like, no, I'm going to play the game smarter. I'm not going to say anything that's going to get me. Like, we see it on Drag Race all the time, right? Like, Queen comes in, and they're so ready to, like, no, I'm going to be positive. I'm not going to give the producers anything. And by episode 2, that person is like using racial slurs and being voted out. And like, It's like the whole like, oh no, it's like, it's totally different when the cameras are on. Is it that way? Like, I don't know. I need to talk to people that have been in these movies and say like, do they beat you down? Do they like, did somebody one day ask for a cup to be filled? And person,
they were like, get the fuck out
right?
of here.
Like, somebody, like, filled it with hot steaming hot chocolate and threw it in their face, and then they never acted again? Like, because it is just, I mean, I thought we reached the height of it. Earlier this year, it was the Rita Moreno one, Santa Boot Camp, was, like, the most ridiculous version of it I've ever seen, where I really am convinced that they just thought they were rehearsing and didn't know the camera was running, because that's how bad it, like they're toasting, but it is supposed to be full, and then you can clearly see that, like, not even are they not weighing it in it with anything, you can see it's empty, but this one gives it a run for its money, because man, that is bad.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And it's not just her, like, the Cooper at one point is like, gets a coffee and just immediately slurps something down, which, again, most coffee is hot. You can't do that.
It's strange and obvious, and it always bothers me.
And then there's even like, and I wondered at first if this was an ad lib, because her boss early on picks up the coffee and the lid falls off, and she's like, oh, I hate these lids. And I thought, I'm like, oh, was that like actually like the actress just going with it, and they kept it in because the lid probably did fall off. But then the ending of the movie, that's a plot point, because that's like the connection she makes with the guy. So I don't know. Maybe that gave them an idea.
That's a good point.
It's a layered movie, Christine.
Huh. Well,
Yeah.
clearly,
You
much
understand
deeper
that
than I
5.9 on
anticipated.
And then number 10, actors trying very hard to not actually eat on camera. Now, there's really only one scene with food, right? Early on, Sebastian comes over with Chinese food, and they sit there and they do, they take out their chopsticks and they eat it.
Oh, I do remember that.
But, like, they're actually eating it. And I think that's because that was probably, like, the food for the day of the shoot.
I did notice at one point, and I thought, like, yeah, it's hard to eat with chopsticks sometimes because she got like a piece of a noodle.
Yes, she did.
But maybe it was deliberate so she wasn't constantly shoveling like, noodles in her mouth.
Or maybe the poor actress was like, guys, I don't use chopsticks. No. In movies, everybody eats Chinese takeout with chopsticks. You have to do it. But
I don't know.
Yeah. I do now because I lived in Korea for a year, so I like learned how to use chopsticks. So now if I'm eating like if I'm eating like rice, I don't, but if I'm eating noodles and chopsticks are near me, I will use them. But in general, like if I'm, if I get like General Tso's chicken, I'm not using chopsticks.
Yeah, I'm not proficient with chopsticks. I can pick sushi up with chopsticks because it's really big and easy.
Yep.
But like I can't eat little things. I'm just not proficient with them.
Yeah, that's okay. You're good at so many other things.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Canadianisms or signs that this was not filmed on location. Well, I mean, it's filmed somewhere near Boston.
I think maybe it's probably filmed in this country.
Definitely.
Yeah, sure. But the thing was, they aside from them being at a very sunny tree lot taking a lot of selfies, they weren't outside a lot. Like some of these, they really are outside like a lot, and you're like, oh, okay, they're just walking around. But this one, it really does. If you're looking for it, you notice that it's just office, elevator, apartment,
restaurant,
office, elevator, office, elevator, apartment, and it's like, oh god, this is extremely repetitive.
Yeah, the only like the warm weather watch, the only they're really like outside twice. I think like it's early on when he meets her outside her apartment, which is creepy, and then when they're tree shopping, and like all I can say is like those were beautiful sunny days for December in Boston.
Yeah. It's weird. This is the choices this movie makes. And...
yeah. So with that being said, well, first, did you have any more notes? Is there anything we missed? Because this was a lot. There's a lot here, as we said.
I don't think so, because I think that we talked about the most important part, which is the K Jewelers.
Obviously, yeah.
But no, I think we covered it all.
So, do you recommend this? Who would you recommend it to? Did you enjoy it?
I think that I enjoyed it. I don't know that I would recommend it. But like I said, if there's something about the performances, or maybe it's just the pacing, because it is very fast. That keeps you from noticing how cheap it is and how repetitive it is. And but the real hindrance is just how pushy he is, and how like tone deaf his pursuing her is.
Yeah, the central narrative is problematic, as they say. Yeah. Like it is like troublesome and not good. Like there's like we've gone a lot like this season about like how sometimes these are positive and have some good things to say. Sometimes they're like just entertaining. They can be like, oh, it's a romance, but like I actually like the leads and they were good together, and sure, it's fine. And sometimes they are like a little dangerous. Sometimes they really do hit that point of, oh no, this is a kind of bad for women type thing. And I feel like any entertainment that is geared towards women, that is always a fuzzy line to talk about, because I think for so long, a lot of content made primarily for female targets has been very unfairly maligned by general pop culture, because the people writing about it are men. So it's always tricky, like, and so I bristle sometimes when people are like, oh, all Hallmark is stupid. Like, I mean, yeah, like on its face, yes, but understand that within that there's nuance, and there's a reason why so many people watch these. Here and there you see like bursts of that like, oh no, but there are some good ones. And like the general reason for why somebody watches these, I'm like, I kind of get like, look, holidays can be stressful. There's a lot of emotion tied up in there. Sometimes you want something that you know is going to end happy, and that's what these things do.
For sure.
But sometimes you watch them, and there are these ones that come along, and there used to be more of them. In fairness to the genre, it has gotten more responsible about this, but you still every now and then get one like this, which is like, oh yeah, this is actually a really fucked up story.
For real.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, and I said that there's a version of it, I think, and I'm not going to rewrite this movie, but like they made a choice with the love interest, with the male character. If he had just been kind of like Scrooge-like and like kind of grumpy and gruff and like didn't really like anybody but seemed to like her,
yeah,
and he realized that he had to be nice to everyone and not just her to like be in a healthy relationship with her, like he had to kind of change his whole life outlook, I think that would have been fun. But making him a womanizer that doesn't seem to see anything wrong with it,
yeah,
until she rejects him like more times than she should need.
yes
It just doesn't work, and it's too much. It's too much the center of the plot to ignore it, you know?
Yeah. It's one that, as much as most of these are harmless and like, yeah, sure, like, oh, if you're watching this when you're cooking and your teenage daughter is watching it, it's fine. And this one, I would be concerned if like, not to, again, like, pull on the full out, let's go talk about feminist history cloak. But think about the stories we grew up with. Like, every fairy tale is ultimately very much, oh, a man will come and sweep you off your poor feet and give you the castle you deserve. And it is troubling when you see that so without irony in a movie like this.
Yeah.
In the 21st century. But
yeah, exactly. And then he ends up getting whatever he wants. What he wants anyway. So there is, it's kind of his change, air quotes, is a little blink and you'll miss it. So it, to me, is a little too much like, yeah, just badger a woman into being with you. Exactly. Wear her down.
As long as you get a good K jeweler, you'll be okay.
Yeah, as Henry Cavill says, you need to chase her. I'm not real. I'm angry at Henry Cavill right now, and it's just coming out.
I don't know. All I know is the recent Superman news. Is he also a stalker?
No, there was that stuff. Some recent stuff potentially came out about how maybe he's not the best to work with, especially working with women, but not like in a sex pest way. But like there was that stuff that came out during Me Too. So it's back in the news where he apparently made a statement about how like he's old fashioned and women, he wants to chase a woman and like all these things that are like, oh, sir.
Oh no.
Like, and I'm afraid because of Me Too that I can't approach a woman anymore.
Oh, I remember this now. Yeah.
I'm just like,
it's really hard to be, a good man with values in this day and age.
Yeah, like if a woman says she doesn't want to go out on a date with you, stop. If a woman says she does want to go out on a date with you, go on one. I don't know why that's a minefield.
Well, but here's the thing, because movies like A Christmas Kiss 2 tell you that if a woman says she doesn't want to go on a date with you, you just have to keep showing up and bullying her into going on a date with you, and then you propose, and it's great. And that's yeah.
Just keep asking. Yeah. Keep asking.
And yet, all that being said, I had a fabulous time watching this movie. Again, like aside from the politics, like which we have said are terrible, this is a cheaply made movie. It does not look good. It is not charming. But a genuine positive is that I think the performances are actually good almost across the board.
Yeah.
But it is one of those ones that is on the level of being cheaply made, being that weird Marvista charm, that it is entertaining in spite of itself. So for those who like that kind of movie, like if you want to watch these movies and you want to see the empty coffee cup acting, this is a perfect movie for that viewer, which is usually me.
Yeah. So that style of viewer, which would be the Emily viewer, is that common, do you think?
I don't know if I want it to be or not, because it scares me if art starts getting made for people like us.
We're through the looking glass.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I am so used to having to, kind of scramble my way and pull out this stuff. I don't know. I mean, I think there are, everybody is unique and yet nobody is, if that
For
makes
sure.
sense. I
No,
know there
you're
are other
right.
people that enjoy these on that particular level. I don't think we are the majority by any means. So we have to just keep finding them. And making sure that our dearest friends have to subject their eyeballs to them as well.
This one, there's been worse, right?
True. Oh, completely. Yeah.
This one wasn't that bad. This one wasn't that bad.
Okay. Well,
All
I mean,
things
it
considered.
is bad, but
It's terrible. But what you said is completely right. It was entertaining.
Yeah. And for those of you playing along at home, I watched it on Hulu. I think it's probably also in a few other places. As far as I know.
I watched it on Tubi.
Oh, so you actually watched this with commercials?
Yeah, I believe I did. I'm almost positive I watched it on Tubi. Wherever I watched it, it was Another Christmas Kiss. And then Zach made the joke of Emily should say we're covering A Christmas Kiss too, and I'd be like, yeah, Another Christmas Kiss. And then we decide we
do a whole Who's on First thing.
We do a whole thing where
Nice.
we actually weren't sure if we watched the same.
I have been so afraid of that happening. It's going to happen one of these days.
I know, because they all have, like we said, they all have such
A prince for Christmas, a Christmas prince. A fiance for Christmas, Christmas fiance.
A Christmas fiance.
Yeah, yeah.
But like when I saw Elizabeth Rome, I was like, well, this is obviously the sequel.
Yeah. When I saw the magical rape elevator, I was like, oh good, I know this territory. I'm here. Oy, well, on that note, Christine, we will return. This is number 12. There's going to be a number 13 after this, and then we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming of irregularly scheduled programming. But in the meantime, for those who are just joining, where you're a writer, you are an editor, you are many things. Where can people find your work?
So you can follow me on Twitter still. I'm still there.
Please stay there. I need you there.
Oh, thanks. It's Xteen_Makepeace. I also have a website that's just my name. If you go to Twitter, you'll see that I'm probably going to be on Hive, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyways, yeah, I was just on a podcast, the Horror Drafts podcast, which is actually a lovely format. You go on and you pick something like I picked haunted house movies. That was like my theme. And then you like draft movies. Like you go around and you pick. Like I picked Poltergeist, and then the next person picked something that wasn't Poltergeist. and so it's really a fun round table. So if you want to hear me talk about haunted house movies, you can go listen to the Horror Draft podcast.
I will absolutely do that. That sounds wonderful. Oh, there it is. The last episode, Haunted House Movies with Christine Makepeace.
It was fun. It's a fun format. It's kind of like
Nice.
lists, but like not.
Wonderful. Our favorite kind.
What have you been up to?
Oh, I don't even know anymore. Recording these.
Yeah, I figured.
It's taken a lot out of me.
If I was only going to listen to one, which one would you recommend? What movie would you recommend I listen to coverage on?
I'm going to do my big wrap-up on the next episode where I rank everything.
Okay, cool. I'll listen to that.
But in terms of the movies, I actually, it's funny because this came up on the very last episode, but I'm going to keep pushing it because it is not streaming in normal places. I don't think people found it, and it is such a delight, and that is the horror parody that was made for the Sci-Fi Channel, Letters to Satan Claus.
Oh, that sounds fun.
You would love it. It is an absolute delight. It is very gay. It is very funny. It is streaming via, I think, Fubo, or if you have cable at all, you can get it from, like, you just go to your cable and you do a search and it will come up. Like, if you have Sci-Fi Channel, it's there, but they don't re-air it. I don't think they've re-aired it for 2 years. It is not on DVD anywhere. It's not streaming anywhere like normal that you tell somebody. But it is such a delight. It's so much fun. I want to see more from that writer-director team. And so anything I can do to get more eyes on that, I'm going to keep doing.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you for that lovely... Now, you actually recommended something that I kind of want to watch instead of what I thought you were going to do, which was...
Be like, A Christmas Kiss 3.
Yeah, the Christmas Twins or something. I'd be like, okay.
Oy. Well, then, everybody, I guess, I don't know, if you are feeling down these times of year, if you're lonely, if you really are looking for that one person to love, just walk in an elevator and we wish you the best.
Or not. I mean...
Taking a quick break? I'd like to see that for someone very special.
Has she been good?
Very good, for goodness sake.
This holiday, what do you give the most important person on your list? A 3-stone diamond ring from Kay Jewelers, where you can be assured of 2 things. First, every diamond is hand-selected to match beautifully. And second, she'll absolutely love it.
Chris, it's beautiful. How did you know?
Every kiss begins with Kay.